somebody went off the map. I took a vow of silence, a student boasted one Monday. He told the class how he refused to talk the entire weekend. He navigated his 48 hours with gestures and meaningful head nods, and when he got desperate, he used pen and paper. He wrapped up his story and challenged me. "You should try it." I grinned and mouthed, "Okay." I'm always up for a challenge, even at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. At first, no one believed it. After a quiet minute, the students shifted awkwardly in their seats. Another minute passed, and I still didn't say anything. The room crackled with nervous energy. I heard one of the students whisper, "No, wait, she can't be serious. She's the teacher." I was serious. In Elvis fashion, my voice had left the building. My students assumed, like many of us do, that in order to teach, professors need to profess. Silence was not in my job description. At first, they didn't trust me. I could see it on some of those groggy faces. This was going to be a waste of their time. They worried that my spontaneous challenge would interrupt that day's plans, that their time spent with me would be pointless because I wasn't going to play the part they expected me to play. They wanted the answers delivered nice and tidy in a PowerPoint presentation. Don't we all? But as I stood there in front of the class, the focus of their confused expressions, I played with the realization that I could teach just as well if I listened and invited my students to trust me. We could explore the lesson in a new way, gathering answers together. I took on a new role, so my students had to take on a new role too. They would have to become the initiators. Talk about a learning experience. One student asked, "Well, did anyone do the reading?" To my chagrin, only a smattering of students raised their hands. At least they were honest. I rolled my eyes. The students chuckled. I gestured for one of my responsible students to come to the front and set him up with my lesson slides. Shifting his feet behind the lectern, he raised an eyebrow at me. "You sure about this?" he asked. I gave him an encouraging nod. "Here goes nothing." He clicked on the first slide and the lesson began. It was evident he had at least skimmed the reading assignment as he walked the class through what he could remember. As we went along, other students jumped in on the action. Students I had seen sleep through the class before started participating. They shared their thoughts and opinions. They disagreed politely, asking each other for evidence from the text. They even opened their textbooks in class. Imagine that. I was no longer Professor Marshman, purveyor of answers. Instead, I became the guide on the journey to the students' discovery. If the students were missing concepts by inches, I typed out a clue or a question on the screen for the class to see. The lesson plan for my health and wellness class that day was to discover what it meant to be healthy. In order to be wholly healthy, we had to consider every spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and social part of our beings. We couldn't just focus on one. I mean, if you look good in spandex but have no friends, are you truly healthy? My students started spouting off their thoughts and found themselves on a rabbit trail of opinions. As their opinions piled up, I would bring them back to the textbook. But I didn't give them the answers. Instead, I offered questions or pointed them back to the true expert on the subject. I stepped to their side and accompanied them on their journey. On my drive home, I couldn't help but think about how awesome that 8 a.m. class had turned out. It was a far cry from what I'd originally planned, but the students actually enjoyed it. Their engagement with the content was off the charts. For the first time in my teaching career, I had confidence that each student had grasped and discovered the day's lesson plan. They were still talking about wanting to live healthy as they walked out of class. God, I wish everything was taught that way, even church. And then it hit me hard. Professor God. I realized that up until that day, I had approached my relationship with God like he was the teacher and I was the student. I had a whole list of assumptions about his role and my role. My role went something like this. I went to church, sat in a pew, took out my notebook, and got ready to jot down the answers for my life's problems. Professor God's role was to give me answers in a more or less immediate fashion. And when I did